Hello and welcome to episode 7 in our series, Step into His Presence. Today we continue stepping into His presence to learn about prayer and fasting. Today's episode is entitled Unmasking the Enemy. Most of us have seen the Mission Impossible movies, and some of us are old enough to have seen the television series. There is one significant scene in almost every movie and many TV episodes where a fake rubber mask is used to disguise the good guys to look like one of the bad guys. In other words, you did not always know who the real enemy was. That's what we are going to talk about today. Who is the real enemy when it comes to spiritual warfare in fasting and prayer? My name is Stephanie Wright, and this is episode 7, Unmasking the Enemy, in our series, Step into His Presence. Before we get started, if you have not already listened to episode 1 in this series, entitled Nothing is Impossible with God, please do so. It provides scriptures, some basic foundational principles, contemporary examples of fasting with prayer, and caveats on how to fast. So who is the real enemy when we talk about being empowered to wage spiritual warfare through fasting and prayer? Well, of course, we all know the enemy from the beginning of time was the devil. It started in the Garden of Eden with the temptation of Adam and Eve. That was when the gauntlet was thrown down and God delivered the ultimate sentence of defeat to Satan, that although he, Satan, would bruise the heel of Jesus, Jesus was going to crush his head. Genesis chapter 3, verse 15. Never forget that when you are going through a test, Satan is already defeated because Jesus has him under his foot, and that's where we should keep him, under our foot. Jesus also said he came to destroy the works of the devil. That's what we are supposed to do as well. And we can do it through fasting and prayer, and most of all, through the power of the Holy Spirit. But today, we're going to talk about another enemy. That enemy is us. We can sometimes be our own worst enemy when it comes to submitting to a fast. We sabotage our fast by not being obedient when the Spirit says fast. We sabotage our fast when we compromise with the Spirit on the fast. And we sabotage our fast when we are not sincere. We fast for the wrong reasons. Now, you may not do any of these things, but listen anyway, so you can help someone else. When it comes to fasting, we must be obedient to the voice of God. It is not always easy because the flesh is weak, even though in our hearts we are willing to fast. Matthew 26, verse 41. Here is a scenario. God will tell us to fast, say, 4 hours until noon, and we ignore that still small voice of the Holy Spirit because we simply do not want to fast. What is it with our flesh? Why is it so difficult to let something go that will be there tomorrow or even after the 4-hour fast? It's called temptation. But remember, the Spirit is not going to lead you to do something you don't have the power to do. Acts chapter 1, verse 8. We are overcomers, and fasting with prayer helps us to overcome. As an aside, I do not want to appear insensitive because I realize that for some people there may not be food on the table tomorrow. That is why we should support food banks and similar organizations. But as far as obedience goes, yes, we can be our worst enemy because we ignore the call to fast. Let's look at someone else who almost disregarded the call to fast, but was reminded by her cousin Mordecai, "For such a time as this were you born." Esther chapter 4, verse 14. If Queen Esther had not been obedient to the call to fast, the Jews in Persia would have all been murdered under an edict King Ahasuerus was manipulated into signing through a man named Haman, who hated the Jews. Only the Jews in Persia were affected because other Jews had already returned to Jerusalem. We should be obedient to the voice of the Holy Spirit when we are told to fast, because the Spirit knows why we need to fast. 1 Corinthians chapter 2, verse 11 tells us, "The things of God know no man, but the Spirit of God." Next, we turn to a discussion of compromise. Yes, the great compromise. The Spirit says fast for a certain number of hours, and we compromise by whittling it down to what works for us. I have to laugh because I have been guilty of this too. But again, I have gotten a lot better about not compromising with the Holy Spirit when I am instructed to fast in a certain way. But what if you're not sure it's the Spirit telling you to fast a certain way? First of all, the Holy Spirit will not tell you to do something that will be harmful to you. Second, the devil will never tell you to fast unless he tries to do something harmful to you. So, wisdom is the order of the day, and the Holy Spirit is always wise. We compromise because, again, we don't want to afflict our flesh, if you can call it that. Do we really know what it means to be afflicted in the flesh when we have a fast food restaurant every way we turn, food markets, etc.? There simply is no lack of food, at least in most countries. Don't compromise with the Spirit. When you are instructed by the Holy Spirit to fast, do it with wisdom. And I will state again, follow the instruction of your health care provider. Another reason we might compromise is that we don't always see the manifestation or results of the fast soon enough. This can be frustrating because we are such an "I want to see it now" society. We want microwave results when we fast and pray, but it doesn't work that way with God. You may never see the results of that week-long consecration that you know God told you to go on. The Spirit led you to sacrifice your favorite food or beverage or entertainment for a month, and you have nothing concrete to show for it. That is where your faith kicks in. 2 Corinthians chapter 5, verse 7 says, "We walk by faith, not sight." You have to believe that your fast was not in vain, but it blessed someone, or maybe it was just for you. Maybe God does not want you to see the results because you may get lifted up behind it. I don't know. I know that a truly dedicated to God, directed by the Holy Spirit fast is never in vain. There is fruit somewhere, and just because we don't see it doesn't mean some good did not come from it. Also, it is important to be consistent and committed to fasting on a regular basis to build yourself up. I hope you find time to listen to all these episodes on fasting because consistency is another topic we cover. Before we move to the last topic today, let me say this. If you are not obedient to the voice of God when He says fast, or you compromise, don't beat up on yourself. I will share this story because there is nothing like telling on yourself to help others. One day I was fasting. I was walking into work, and the man who filled the candy machine had just arrived and got out of his truck with a tray of candy for the machines. Believe it or not, I thought, he's going to drop one of those candy bars. And that is just what happened. I brought it to his attention, and instead of taking the candy bar, he gave it to me. I accepted, and to my shame, I ate the candy bar. I still remember that even though it was years ago. I really felt bad for breaking my fast. But guess what? I didn't give up fasting. No, I repented and moved on to the next fast. If you fall, get up. Proverbs 24:16 says, "For a just man or woman falls 7 times and rises up again, but the wicked shall fall into mischief." The devil wants you to feel like a failure because you might give up. He is the father of lies, and there is no truth in him. John 8:44. Don't buy his lies. Revelation 12:10 says, "For the accuser of our brethren is cast down, which accused them before our God day and night." So don't give up. Pick up where you left off with the fast and be determined to do better. And you can through the power of the Holy Spirit, your helper. John 4:16 and verse 26, Acts 1 and 8. Remember that Satan is subject to us through Jesus Christ, Ephesians chapter 1, verse 22. So do what Jesus did and keep that devil under your foot, Romans 16 and 20. As a friend once said, if you keep the devil under your foot, he will stay out of your head. Finally, we can be our own worst enemies in fasting because we fast for the wrong reasons, or we fast in strife. James chapter 4 verse 3 says, Ye ask and ye receive not, because you ask amiss, that you may consume it upon your lusts. This applies to fasting as well, because prayer and fasting are so intertwined. They are inextricably intertwined and cannot be separated. Never fast for the wrong reason. We do not fast to get even with someone or see hurt come to someone. We do not fast to bribe God to do things our way. We do not fast with a spirit of strife, Philippians 2 verse 3. We fast for godly purposes. We need go no further than the list that God gave us in Isaiah 58:67 to know what to fast for. Loose the bands of wickedness, undo the heavy burdens, let the oppressed go free, break every yoke, feed the hungry, clothe the naked, be reconciled to others. We need to remember that we are continuing the work of Christ on the earth. Thus, I reiterate what was said earlier in this presentation. 1 John 3 verse 8, which says, Christ came to destroy the works of the devil. Make no mistake about it, fasting is one of the spiritual warfare weapons that destroys the works of the devil. So, step into his presence and be empowered through the Holy Spirit so you will not be your worst enemy. Obey the call to fast. Don't compromise, and remember the purpose is to do the will of God. In so doing, we will destroy the works of the devil. Now, stay tuned for Apostle Charles, who will give you details on how to contact us. Until next time, God bless.
If you want to contact us or comment on this podcast, please visit our website at cgmissions.com/podcast, where all episodes are available by category and series format. This is Apostle Charles. Until next time, God bless you.
Charles George Missions is a 501c3 nonprofit organization. Donations are tax deductible. Donations may be made through our website, cgmissions.com.